Okay, here's your pre-lesson, you guys. We're going to continue factoring trinomials. Going to get a little harder today. It's day 2, and now we're going to stick with factoring trinomials, but these are unique. So as you can see on the board, I've nicknamed them a little bit just to kind of encourage you to be on the hunt for different strategies depending on how the problem's given to you. So what we did yesterday is just factor. So I call these gotta ones. In other words, our coefficient of our squared term is a 1. You want to know why that makes it so easy? Because we know right away that we're going to put an x there and an x there. There's no question about it. These are just simpler. So then I look at my third term, my constant, and I look for two terms when multiplied to get negative 12. Give me the sum of that middle coefficient, which in this case would be negative 6 and 2. So I go negative 6 and 2. Now some of you might be saying, well, why don't you list them all? Well, after you've done 10,000 of them, you kind of just get the right answer. You just go through all the possibilities and it jumps out at you, okay? So you'll get better at it. But that's not the point. The point is, how do we handle these nada ones? And why do I even call it that? It's because of this. Now, there are teachers, and I'm not bashing them, but they teach trial and error, and I used to teach that. But then I started to think about students on timed tests like ACT, SAT, and for me back in the day when I was taking a test and I didn't figure stuff out right away and I was using trial and error, my anxiety level was through the roof. So then I started to teach this in a way that would just do it for you. It's a great vehicle. It's going to find the answer for you, and you're practicing some algebra along the way. So here's what I teach, okay? Now notice, everything's positive. So as far as nada ones go, this is the easiest of them. Now, you do have to kind of follow this. I'm not going to write the steps out. It'll bore you to death. I'm just going to do it. You're going to have to rewind and practice so that it becomes part of your process. So, first of all, we're going to put it in descending order. Check. Making sure this is positive? Yeah, I would still do that, but it already is. The next step is we're going to multiply this coefficient by this one. So I get 2 times 6, that's 12. I'm going to, very similar to this, remember how I just looked at the third term to figure out 2 factors that add to the middle? I'm going to multiply first. That's the only difference so far. And now I'm going to find 2 factors of 12 that add up to this number, which is 7, and it just jumps out at me, 4 and 3. Now, I call this the Jello technique. So if you put Jello in your mouth and you chew it up a little bit, kind of gets a little, watery. Is it still Jello? Yes. It's in a different form. So maybe that's too deep. But all I'm going to do is I'm going to take this 7x and I'm going to take it out and I'm going to replace it with these 2. And I'm going to go 2x squared plus 4x plus 3x plus 6. Now I want you to look. A lot of students, when they first do this, they don't put the x on it, and they've screwed it up. Because you can change the way it looks, Jello, but you can't change what it is, Jello. That's where I get the silly Jello talk. So there's my x, there's my x. So if I added these together, I would get my 7x. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to insert parentheses. Now notice, I kept the plus in between the 2 parentheses. If I didn't, I would completely change the value of it, and that'd be a big no-no. Now I'm going to look at this, and I'm going to say, what can I factor out of this? So I'm going to go like this, and I'm going to do it for both of them. So what's the greatest common factor, GCF, of this and this? Well, that'd be 2x. What would be left? X plus, what would I have to multiply 2x by to get 4x? 2. Now, what do I take? What's my greatest common factor of these 2? Well, it's just a 3. What would be left if I took a factor of 3 out there? An x. What times 3 would give me 6? A 2. Now, I want you to look at this and this. If you're doing it right, those things will match. Remember what our goal is. Our goal is is to have a pair of parentheses, two binomials. And what we're going to do is we're going to take these two common ones out, and we're going to put it in the front. And then whatever's left, we're going to put in the back. And voila, we just factored this thing into this. There's for sure somebody that's thinking, I like trial and error a lot better. If that's true, use it. But this is a vehicle that will just take you to the proper factoring answer, okay? And it's kind of worry-free. But I am going to show you one more thing. What if, so here's the last part of the pre-lesson. Let me get that black marker going. What if the problem was like this, 3x squared, and I'm just making this up, plus 6 minus 9, yeah, something like that, okay? So as the numbers get bigger, the trial and error method gets more difficult. That's why I like this. So is this a got a 1 or a not a 1? All because of that number? It's a not a 1, okay? It's all because of that number. And if it's a not a 1, I just go ahead and multiply, and I get 18, and I find two factors of 18 that add up to negative 9. Well, obviously, they both need to be negatives. So it's going to be negative 6 and negative 3. And the reason I'm showing you this one is that it gets a little tricky. So watch this. So if I have this, two negatives, remember I said you wanted a plus in between here? We're going to force our will on this problem a little bit, and that's what I'm talking about. So now the 3x squared stays the same. Negative 6 turns into negative 6x. The negative 3 turns into negative 3x, and then plus 6. Now, when I put the parentheses in, I said you want a plus in between them. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go add up. And now we've got what I'm encouraging you to do. It's going to just happen mathematically a little bit easier for you. So now I'm going to insert parentheses here and insert parentheses here. Here's my little skeleton. I'm hoping for a match. Remember, if I've done it right, these two things will match. Well, let's concentrate here, 3x squared and 6x. I'm not worried about the negative. I'm going to take a 3x out. What will be left? X minus 2. Now, here's the thing. Here's where we can cheat a little bit. Now, when I say cheat, I'm just saying take advantage of what you already know. In order for this to work, these two things need to match. So I'm going to put this in here and say, all right, what do I have to factor out of here in order to get this? Drum roll, a negative 3, okay? And how do I know that? Well, if I distribute that through, I get negative 3x plus 6. Now, do I have a match? Yes. That goes in the front, so we're taking it out, and whatever's left, we put second. All right. You're going to see this done a few more times in the packet lesson. I know this is new, but if you stick with it, it will become easier and easier.